The weather's starting to take a decidedly inclement turn, so using a very cheap nylon tarp like this one and some string here, I'm going to show you how you can, in a few minutes, make a shelter that you can get the group under. Okay, what we're going to look at now is the tarp hitch. I often find that when you suspend your tarp line between two trees, the last bit of the last knot always ends up putting a bit more slack in the line. Keeping it nice and taut is really the key to having a tarp that's going to shed the wind and the water. So what we're going to look at now is the knot that's going to help you achieve and maintain that tension on the line. Now to start with, we're going to start with a very simple knot that we all know. I'm going to go round this first tree, and I'm simply going to go right over left, left over right. So we're secure at this end, that's not a problem, nice simple knot. We can't actually tie this tarp hitch without secured at the other end, so we start with our nice simple overhand knot. Then when we come to the second tree, the second fixed point, we go around the tree first. It doesn't have to be super tight, we don't have to bust ourselves putting loads of strain on the line, and we're going to coil it round 3, maybe 4 times. Now these coils are what's going to give it the necessary friction it needs for us to be able to slide it up and down the rope and lock it off. You'll see that in a moment. Okay, so with the spare end of the rope now, I'm going to come up from underneath, push it through here, make a bite, and then I'm going to lock it down with my hands, make sure all the loops are nice and securely seated. There's our tarp hitch. Now, what we can do to get some pressure on it, take some of the strain, is I'm just going to pull the knot away from our anchor point, like this. What I'm going to do with the rest, to prevent anyone tripping, I'm just going to put it through here, like this, and secure it off here. It's actually even going to put a little bit of extra tension on. If I need to slacken that, I can take it back the way, and I can bring it back up again. And it'll grip the rope again, these bits here providing the tension, and we should keep a nice taut tarp line. To undo it, nice and simple, we take our dead end of the rope, this one, and we just pull it through. That's going to release the knot, and then we're just going to uncoil this, and we're done. Okay, so our tarp line's now in place. It's time to throw the tarp over the top. Okay, to get the peg in the ground, we're going to try and get it in an angle of 45 degrees, make it into that really firm anchor that we want. This is a job we only want to have to do one time. Nice wooden mallet, if you haven't got it, just a heavy piece of wood will do it. Don't be tempted to bash it in with your heel, that's a great way to have an accident. I'm going to tap it in, this wooden mallet. There we go. Nice firm anchor in the ground, and now we're ready to tie our tarp line off. Against it, as you can see, the notch we cut, going round the peg, putting the tension on there, a couple of turns, and finish it off with a couple of half hitches. And that's going to do the job just as well. Don't feel as if you need to make pegs for each session. You'll find, especially when the ground's wet, a stick that's broken at an angle like this, as you can see here, is going to go into the ground and make a perfectly good anchor point. There's no need to get hung up in the session on, right, we've got to make pegs for each corner of the tarp. If you've made them and you've got them, that's great. If you haven't, some wet sticks that won't burn, obviously, just broken in half, will put a point on them and they go into the ground just fine. As you can see here, that's a nice firm anchor point for our tarp. Okay, if we want to maximise the space underneath our tarp, the actual dry area, it's important that we keep it as tight along this line as we can. The rope's tight, now we need the tarp to be tight. So I'm going to show you a little trick, very simple to do, that'll secure the tarp to the rope and enable us, just like the knot we just saw, to slide it up and down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a loop of string like this, any old piece of string, and I'm going to, with the loop here, I'm going to thread the rest of the rope through it. We've probably all seen this knot before, and then I'm going to actually repeat it. So I'm going to take the loop itself once again, and I'm going to thread the rest of the string through it. And you know what? I'm going to do it again. Thread all the string back through that loop. Here we go. And then I'm going to dress the knot. It doesn't have to be super tight. And bring it up on here. This is called a prusik knot. And the idea with this is that it'll slide freely up and down the line until we apply tension, and then it'll lock itself off. So we're going to slide that down to our tarp, to the nearest of its eyelets. I'm going to thread this one end through, and again with the overhand knot we just used, I'm going to secure that, and it doesn't need to be tight, we don't need to rump it right up. I'm going to tie that onto there, and now should be able to slide this up the way, it won't come back.
This is one of the shelters we built earlier. This is a lean-to shelter, and the main features of the lean-to shelter is that it's leaning in one direction, and it's tied up by 2 strings on the top at about head height, and then you've got 2 pegs on either side, pegs with guide ropes that are holding it down at the back at an angle. So Tom, what do you think about this shelter? Is this one that was good considering today's weather conditions?
I think today, if we were out here with the group, Natalie, we would be looking for something that gave us a little bit more shelter. Obviously this one gives us a lovely view of the woods, it's a little bit less claustrophobic, there's a lot more room, but for today's purposes I think it's perhaps not ideal.
So this is the simplest tarp that you can construct for branching out, and you'll find that most branching out groups use this design the most because it's the simplest to use. It was just simply tying off the 4 corners. Although it's not great if you were in a survival situation, it's probably not the best of tarps to use, or if you need it to be up and out and wind resistant and rain resistant for as long as possible, it's maybe not the best design. I've just built it at the perfect head height for me to stand under, but obviously if you've got taller people in the group you might need to lift that up a level. Since it's a lovely cold day in January and we've heard the lovely ice cream music, Tom and I decided to
get some ice cream. Thanks for watching.
Bye.